Discover the incredible journey of a virgin girl who unexpectedly blessed a billionaire's family. Emma Johnson stood behind the counter of the Maplewood diner, her fingers deftly gliding over the coffee pot, pouring steaming cups for the regulars. With each clink of the cups, dreams brewed in her mind. A poor waitress with ambitions bigger than the sky, Emma carried the weight of her mother's sacrifices, a proud veteran whose strength molded Emma's core values of hard work and honor. Here, in this bustling small town, she felt the urgency of time slipping away. She wanted to forge a new path for herself, away from the clinking coins of tips and the grease-stained menus that defined her life. Everything changed one Wednesday afternoon when a commotion erupted outside. Emma stepped outside, her heart racing with curiosity. A luxury car lay wrecked at the end of the block, its gleaming exterior marred by the chaos of twisted metal. The townsfolk gathered, murmuring anxious whispers. Mark Sterling, the local millionaire, was inside. A man whose wealth didn't shield him from the imperfections of family life. Emma recognized the glimmer of drama that called her name, her spirit igniting. As fate would have it, Emma was called upon to assist in his recovery. Initially, the very idea terrified her. How could someone like her be significant in the world of someone like him? Yet, as days turned into weeks, she found herself in his grand mansion across the river, a world starkly different than her own. "Why are you here?" Mark asked one evening, caught between pain and confusion. "I'm here because you need help," Emma responded softly, her heart pounding. "We all do, in some way." That was the first spark, an ember of connection igniting into flames. Mark's life was riddled with shadows, guilt for a broken family buried under a mountain of dreams dashed. Emma's kindness, her unwavering hope, began to touch his heart like the morning sun breaking dawn. But the scrutiny of social class was unforgiving. Emma faced scorn from her community and faced suspicion from Mark's estranged relatives, every judgmental glance a reminder of their chasm in status. "What can she know of hardship?" they whispered. Emma fought back against their perceptions, determined to show every one of them that kindness isn't dictated by wealth but rooted in character. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma settled into her new reality, she unwittingly opened a door for healing, bringing the family together through warmth and empathy. They began to talk, hug, and mend what had been torn. Just as the warmth spread through the inhabitants of the mansion, a curse of betrayal cast a shadow. Emma discovered a secret, one that threatened her trust and the bond she thought they had built. Standing before Mark, her heart a turbulent storm, she said fiercely, "I won't let the opinions of others dictate my worth." The tension in the room crackled like electricity, and as the townspeople watched, an awkward silence filled the air, suffused with uncertainty and expectation. In that moment, she knew love had to transcend every barrier, even as the past loomed large. But the question hung heavier than before: could they truly overcome the divisions that kept them apart? The story hadn't ended, it was just beginning, as the challenges loomed larger on the horizon. Emma stood at the edge of the garden, the weight of her discovery heavy in her chest. The lush greenery around her usually brought her solace, but now it felt like a cage. Mark's secret curled around her thoughts, twisting tighter and tighter. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but the lingering scent of jasmine couldn't mask her concern. The warm afternoon sun bathed the mansion in golden light, but her heart was shrouded in shadows. Mark had confided in her about his family's struggles, and Emma had shared her dreams, her life filled with hopes far away from the Maplewood diner. Yet, the deeper she waded into his world, the more she realized the very foundations of their relationship were now at stake. "Emma?" Mark called, his voice pulling her from her thoughts. He appeared at the back door, a hand running through his tousled hair. The touch felt familiar, yet there was an air of tension that hovered between them. Emma hesitated, searching for words that could bridge the growing chasm between them. "We need to talk." Mark's brows furrowed, concern etching his features. "About what? Please, just tell me." She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "About the secret, the one surrounding your family. I can't pretend it doesn't exist. It changes everything." Mark's expression shifted, a mix of fear and vulnerability flooding his blue eyes. "You shouldn't have to worry about my family. I thought we were building something real here." Emma took a deep breath, willing herself to find clarity amidst the swirl of emotions. "We are. But love isn't built on half-truths, is it? I can't stand by and ignore what's at stake. I want to support you, but it feels like I don't truly know you at all." The silence swelled between them, thick and suffocating. Finally, Mark stepped forward, his voice low and earnest. "I can't lose you, Emma. Not after everything you've changed me. My family is complicated, and there are things I wish I could tell you, things I'm afraid would hurt you." "Then let me decide what hurts me," she pressed, her voice stronger now. "You owe me that. You owe me the truth." His shoulders drooped, the fight leaving his posture as he let out a ragged breath. "All right, but promise me you'll try to understand. My past is tangled up in a lot of mess, and it all comes down to one thing." He hesitated, the weight of 1,000 secrets hanging unsaid on his lips. Emma felt her heart race, anticipation mingling with dread. "What is it?" "It's about my brother, and something I haven't told you about the accident." She felt her heart drop, realization dawning. "What happened?" For a moment, it felt like the entire world stood still. Then he spoke, each word piercing through the tension like a dagger, unraveling layers of complexity she had never anticipated. "He was involved. And I was supposed to protect him." The pieces fell into place, each revelation shocking her to her core. All her intentions of kindness, empathy, and connection suddenly felt heavier. How could their love survive this? Emma took a step back, her breaths coming in quick succession. "Mark, what does this mean for us?" As uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud overhead, their love was met with the reality of past mistakes. The path ahead grew hazy, tangled in threads of loyalty and betrayal. She wondered if the heavy burden of family secrets could ever truly be shared or if they were destined to create a rift too deep to mend. Mark's gaze bore into hers, desperation dancing in the depths of his eyes. "I need you more than ever, but I can't ask you to carry my burdens too." But the truth hung between them like an unresolved question, and Emma realized she was standing at the edge of a precipice. Would she leap into the unknown, or was it time to go back to the safety of her old life? As she wrestled with her heart's conflicting desires, the mansion felt colder, the garden shadowed in doubt. What would she choose as they faced the storm together? The answer loomed, and the stakes had never been higher. There was so much left to uncover and so much that would challenge their bond. Emma knew she was on the cusp of the most defining moment of her life, but would the truth bring them closer, or tear them apart forever? Emma's heart raced in a thick silence, her eyes searching Mark's for answers she feared might not come at all. The world around her blurred into a hazy background, the vibrant greens and soft blooms of the garden faded as her thoughts spiraled inward. She felt as if she was standing on the cliff's edge, teetering between love and this constellation of dark secrets that threatened to tear them apart. "Mark," she said, her voice trembling. "What are you saying? That you didn't protect him? That it's your fault?" The pain in her words twisted something deep inside Mark. He winced as if struck, and for a moment, Emma saw the glimmer of tears. "It wasn't just my responsibility," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Then whose was it?" The desperation in her tone surprised her. Was anyone supposed to protect him? He was just a kid. The memories of the boy who laughed with her, the way he had innocently brightened her days, felt like a ghost now, haunting her. Mark clenched his fists, breathing heavily as if grounding himself against a storm. There were choices, Emma. Choices we both made that day. And I was so caught up in my own world that I didn't see the signs, didn't see how he needed me. Each word weighed down on them like an anchor, pulling them deeper into the abyss. That confession hung in the air, and Emma could feel it suffocating them both. We all make mistakes, Mark. But your brother, he's gone. How can we keep moving forward with this hanging over us? What about us? Tears pricked her eyes, but she fought to keep them at bay, afraid if she gave in, she might break completely. The reality of it all settled like a heavy blanket over her shoulders. The truth had emerged, and with it, so many questions, so many feelings she couldn't find the words for. Mark took a step forward, closing the gap between them, his hands reaching out hesitantly. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I wanted to keep you safe from it. I thought if I told you, I would ruin everything we have. Emma's heart ached at his pain. I need to know who you are, Mark. All of you. I can't be with someone whose past is a shadow lurking in the corner. He dropped his gaze, the shadows of guilt flickering across his features. You have to understand, I told you about my family, about my struggles, but this, what happened to Leo, it haunts me every day. I don't know how to escape it, and I'm scared of losing you. Losing me? Emma echoed, her voice trembling as she tried to pull herself back together. You already did the moment you decided to keep secrets. I can't trust you if you want to trust me. Mark's eyes flared with a spark of determination. I want to be better. For you, for Leo. There's so much I need to say, but I don't want to hurt you further. His voice cracked at the end, revealing a vulnerability she had never seen before. How can I help you if you don't let me in? She asked softly, caught between a gut instinct to protect herself and the fierce longing she felt for him. He paused, the silence wrapping around them again, but this time it felt different. It felt like a delicate truce forming, a fragile bridge built from the wreckage of their pasts. Then let us face it together. I'll share everything, the good and the ugly. It's time you knew the truth about my family, especially what happened that day. Hope flickered in her heart, but the weight of his words lingered like a shadow over them both. Could she handle it? Could she truly stand by him, navigating this tumultuous sea of emotions and history? As Mark took a deep breath and prepared to uncover the depths of his family's secrets, Emma felt herself holding her breath too. Would his truth bring them closer or set them adrift once again? The future felt like an open road stretching before them, with no promise of what lay ahead. Emma let out a shaky breath, steeling herself for the revelations that awaited. But the question loomed large: were they ready to embrace it together, or would these secrets shatter everything they had built? Emma stood there, her heart pounding as Mark shifted nervously on his feet. It felt monumental, the way the air crackled around them with the weight of unspoken truths. She noticed how the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden light that made their shadows stretch long and thin. Everything felt suspended in this moment, like time itself was holding its breath. Okay, he finally said, breaking the silence, his voice low and rough. I'll tell you everything. But it won't be easy for either of us. She nodded, holding on to her own desire to know, to understand him fully. The truth, no matter how painful, could be a foundation or a wrecking ball. Leo, he was so full of life. The day this happened, I should have been there. I should have seen. His words faltered, and Emma noticed the way his hands trembled. We were at the family cabin. We went there to celebrate, to get away. The summer sun was shining. We were all supposed to be happy. Mark, Emma whispered, feeling a chill run down her spine as she sensed his struggle. I was too wrapped up in my own problems, in the idea of trying to keep my family together. I know what you think of me as a brother, someone I'm supposed to protect. But that day he closed his eyes, battling the emotions that crashed over him like waves. I was distant. I let Leo wander off, thinking he was fine. I should be kept a closer eye on him. I should be noticed. But I didn't. Emma reached out, instinctively wanting to touch him, to bridge that gap that seemed to widen with the weight of his words. What happened? He fell. The admission hung like lead in the air. He fell into the lake, and then I didn't realize until too late. I thought he was playing on the shore, but he slipped away. By the time we found him his voice dropped, barely above a whisper. It was too late. Her heart twisted painfully at the raw emotion lingering in his confession. She could see the anguish etched on his face, the guilt suffocating him like a dark shroud. Mark, I know. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses. But I never forgave myself for that day. Every morning, I wake up and think about how it could have been avoided. How I could have been better. His eyes met hers, filled with unshed tears. I wanted to protect you from this pain. I thought if I kept it hidden, we could just build a life free of it. But the truth is, my past is part of who I am. And I can't keep lying to you. She took a shaky breath, feeling the enormity of his regret wash over her. Mark, you're not responsible for everything that happened. We all have moments we wish we could take back. He shook his head, the denial written across his features. But I should have been there. I should have done better. As silence fell between them again, Emma grappled with her emotions. She wanted to comfort him, to tell him it was okay, but the truth was far more complicated. Can we move past this? She finally asked, her voice breaking just a little. Can we find a way forward? He stared into her eyes, his expression a mixture of fear and hope. I want to believe we can. But I don't know what it will take. Every memory of Leo feels like a chain tying me to the past. Emma's throat tightened as she considered what it might mean to let go of those chains. Then let us break them together. We don't have to carry these burdens alone. He stepped closer, their breaths mingling in the warm air, an unspoken agreement hanging between them. Emma could feel the tension shifting into something more hopeful. Maybe healing starts with sharing. With trusting one another, he said slowly, almost like a plea. Emma's heart ached with the weight of his words, yet she also felt the stirrings of possibility. Their potential lay not just in understanding each other but healing as well together. But as Mark moved in closer, emotions swirling between them, she couldn't shake the feeling that more truths lingered in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed. What else had he hidden away? What would come to light next? As night began to fall, wrapping its arms around them, Emma wondered just how deep the scars ran in Mark's heart, and if they'd be able to navigate through the darkness ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would the shadows engulf them both? Emma was lost in thought, her heart racing as the sun melted into the horizon. The world around them was bathed in twilight, a soft breeze rustling through the trees, but all she could feel was the weight of Mark's confession hanging in the air. She wanted to reach through the fog of sorrow and pull him to a place of hope, but the shadows of his guilt felt tangible, like a curtain separating them. Mark, she said softly, searching for the right words, you can't carry this alone. You need to talk about it. You need to let it out. He looked at her, the raw pain in his eyes reflecting an unspoken ache. But what if it just makes things worse? He asked, his voice shaking. What if I break everything even more? She stepped closer, closing the space between them. That's not going to happen, she insisted, her voice steady. You can't hide from this forever. Keeping it buried will only fester, and we can't build a future out of silence. The flickering light of the setting sun caught the edges of his face, illuminating the conflict swirling in his eyes. What if the truth changes everything? It might, but it could also set you free, she replied, her hand slipping into his. You can't be afraid of what you've done. The past is heavy, but facing it is the first step to letting it go. His grip tightened around her hand, as if the mere act of holding on somehow anchored him in this turbulent moment. You're asking me to dig up a grave I thought I buried, and it terrifies me. Emma took a breath, steadying herself. Maybe that's where the healing begins. You don't have to do it alone, remember. Mark swallowed hard, a slow nod indicating that he understood at least on some level. I just don't know how to start. Start with a memory, she suggested. What is it that you missed the most about Leo? She sensed the shift in the atmosphere, a potential opening. If you could talk to him now, what would you say? His eyes glazed over, and for a moment, she could see his mind drifting back to happier times, before the shadows consumed him. I'd tell him I'm sorry. I'd tell him that no matter what, I loved him. The pain in his voice broke Emma's heart all over again. That's a start, she encouraged, her thumb brushing against his knuckles. Talk to him. Share those love and regrets. Out loud. Let those words echo, let their weight sink down, and then maybe just maybe, you can let them go. Mark's breath hitched as he processed her words. The tension in his shoulders seemed to soften just a bit. Do you really think it would help? I believe it's the only way forward, she said with a soft smile. You've carried this long enough. It's time for you to be free. As the first stars began to twinkle above, he finally let out a deep sigh. I'll try for us. I'll try. The words felt monumental, and Emma couldn't help but feel a rush of hope enveloping them, mingling with the crisp evening air. She looked up toward the night sky, wishing for a sign that they could navigate through this darkness together. But just then, a distant sound echoed across the water, a splash that cut through the stillness of the moment, provoking unease in her stomach. Did you hear that? Emma whispered, her gaze snapping toward the lake. Yeah, I heard it too. Mark's posture shifted, a spark of urgency igniting the reality of the evening. Their moment of connection shattered, replaced by a gravity she hadn't expected. What was that? She asked, her heart racing once more. I don't know. Mark's voice trembled as he stepped away from her hand, a flicker of panic rising in his eyes. Let us find out. As they turned toward the lake, electric anticipation coursed through Emma's veins. They were standing at the edge of a deeper mystery, one that could lead to more revelations, more truths unearthed. Could it be that the night held much more than they were prepared for? The air grew colder as they approached the water's edge, shrouded in a pulsing quiet that felt almost alive. The splash had echoed into a deep silence, the kind that makes you feel like something was just beneath the surface, not just of the lake but within them. Emma held her breath, forcing herself to stay calm as the unease twisted in her stomach. Maybe it was just a fish, she offered, the tremor in her voice betraying her doubt. Yeah, maybe. Mark replied, though the tight lines around his eyes told a different story. He took a cautious step forward, peering into the water, where shadows lurked just out of reach of the fading light. She followed, her feet dragging along the gravelly edge, each small pebble crunching underfoot, feeling like a warning. Mark, wait, Emma said, suddenly feeling the urge to pull him back. What if it's something serious? We should. Before she could finish, the water erupted with another splash, larger and more chaotic this time. They both jumped back, hearts pounding. The sound reverberated through the air, and Emma's skin prickled. Maybe we should just call it a night, she suggested, looking at Mark, whose eyes were now wide with a mixture of fear and curiosity. No. I need to know what that was. Mark's voice dropped to a whisper, determination settling in like an anchor. It was a look she recognized, one that meant he was determined to face whatever was haunting him. Emma nodded slowly, knowing she couldn't pull him back. After all, how could she ask him to confront his ghosts if she was running from the unknown herself? Mark stepped closer to the water, leaning down slightly as if he could peer through the surface. I'll be right back, he said, his voice low, thick with resolve. As he waded in, the water lapped around his shins, sending shudders through Emma's resolve. Mark! She hissed, her heart racing. Be careful. I will, he replied, glancing back at her over his shoulder, a flash of a reassuring smile crossing his face, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Just then, as he stretched out his arm to reach what lay beneath the waves, the water rolled away with a bubble, and something broke through the surface, a dark shape that emerged with a startling abruptness. Emma gasped, watching in horror as Mark stumbled back, his feet slipping on the wet rocks. She lunged forward, urgency fueling her steps. Mark! He splashed in the water, struggling to regain his balance, but Emma's heart sank as she caught sight of what had emerged, a lifeless object floating amidst the glistening reflections of the water's surface. She reached him just as he regained his footing, her voice thick with fear. "What is that?" Mark took a deep breath, forcing himself to look, but the moment he did, shock washed over him like a cold wave. I think it's a shirt." Emma's stomach twisted. "What? Just a shirt?" But as they stepped closer, the details became clearer. It was a shirt, but not just any shirt. The fabric was familiar, worn, faded, and too strangely evocative for Emma to process fully. "Mark, it's Leo's," she whispered, her jaw dropping as she processed the reality of what was before them. She could see Mark's face drain of color, confusion and horror mixing together. This can't be." Before he could finish his thought, Emma grabbed his hand tightly, feeling the gravity of the moment settle between them. They were standing at the precipice of something so much bigger than their own struggles, the weight of the past surging forward with ominous intent. "What have we uncovered?" Mark breathed, eyes wide with disbelief. The sound of the night seemed to hush around them, leaving their question lingering in the air. As darkness draped over the lake, a shiver crawled down Emma's spine. They had stepped beyond their own pain and into a far greater mystery, one that was intertwined with loss, and the past they could no longer ignore. What was this night revealing, and at what cost? Mark's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the shirt, the fabric waves pulling him deeper into memories he thought he had buried. Emma felt an electric pulse course through their clasped hands, as if they were linked by more than just fear. It was history, shadowed in regret. Leo. The name slipped from Mark's lips like a confession. He took a step back, his eyes searching the water, as though he expected Leo's ghost to rise up and greet them. Emma swallowed hard. "We need to find out how this happened. We can't just leave it like this." His gaze snapped to hers, intensity flickering. "What if this leads to something we can't handle? What if it changes everything?" "Mark, it already has," she replied, her heart pounding louder than the night cries around them. "We owe it to Leo and to ourselves to know the truth." They lingered by the water as the moon loomed low, casting an ethereal silver light that glinted off the shirt, turning it into an ominous beacon. With every passing second, the chill of the air seeped further into their bones, but it was nothing compared to the emotional cold settling in their hearts. This was bigger than either of them anticipated. "Let us follow the shoreline," Mark suggested, a note of determination creeping back into his voice. "If it washed up here, maybe we can find something else, anything that can help us understand what happened." Emma nodded, both relieved and terrified. They ventured down the water's edge, the gravel crunching beneath their feet felt alarmingly loud in the night symphony. The shadows blended with the trees that embraced the shoreline, whispering secrets as the wind rustled through the leaves. "Do you remember that summer?" "Leo was always the life of the party," Emma said, trying to summon warmth in the dark. Mark glanced at her, a flicker of a smile crossing his face momentarily before the gravity of their reality pulled him back. "Yeah, he had that infectious laugh," he replied, his voice turning somber. "It felt like he was invincible. I can't believe he's gone." Silence enveloped them, the weight of the unspoken haunting their thoughts. It felt surreal to be standing at the very point where memories met the stark truth of their loss. "What if we actually find something?" Emma's voice trembled slightly. "What then?" "I guess." Mark hesitated, then turned to face her fully. "We'll deal with it together. No fleeing this time. We face it." As if in answer, the lake surged momentarily, a ripple escaping from the depths, sending an anxious shudder through them both. Emma shook her head, trying to shake off the sensation of dread crawling up her spine. With each step, they scanned the shore, hesitant to voice the concerns bubble up inside them. What were they uncovering? It felt like the lake was hiding a truth more powerful than they understood. Emma? Mark paused mid-step, his voice cracking slightly. Do you think it could lead to something more? Something dangerous? A deep breath escaped her lips, heavy with uncertainty. Emotions flickered behind her eyes: fear, determination, and a hope far more potent than their dread. I don't know. But we need to know. Whatever it brings, we face it together, right? Together, he echoed, a firm resolution punching through the uneasy air. But before they could continue, Emma noticed something shimmering beneath the water. Her pulse quickened. Look! Mark knelt beside her, squinting into the rippling surfaces, shivering like a heartbeat. The glint sparked with curiosity, but also foreboding, as the water began to settle once again. What do you see? He asked, a whisper tugging at the edges of his voice. Her heart raced as she felt that sensation of the unknown swirling around them, cloaked in mystery. Something, it's down there, she replied, a heavy hush falling between them. What if it's not just Leo's shirt? What if there's more? As she reached out, the ripples shifted again, teasing the shadows within the depths. What if this was only the beginning? What other secrets did the lake hide? Emma felt a tug of dread as she leaned closer, her fingers just inches from the water's surface. She could taste the salty tang of fear in her mouth. Mark watched her, his breath held, as if exhaling would shatter the fragile spell that surrounded them. What if it's something that shouldn't be found? He whispered, a frown creasing his forehead. Swallowing hard, she kept her gaze locked on the shimmering light. Or maybe it's the answer we've been searching for. Just as her fingertips brushed the cold water, something lunged from the lake. It wasn't a hand, but rather a glistening object that broke free from the depths, a locket, slick and mysterious. Emma, wait! Mark shouted, reaching for her, but she was already submerging her arm in pursuit of the locket. Cool water enveloped her wrist and she gasped from the shock. With a determined yank, she pulled the locket free, the metal heavy in her palm. She fought the urge to shake the water off and examine it right there. Curiosity outweighed her initial fright. Is it? Mark's voice trailed off, anticipation thickening as she turned the locket over in her hands. Emma felt her heart beat faster. There was a faint engraving on its surface, partially covered in muck. She wiped it away with her thumb, thrilling as the name emerged, Leo. Mark, this was his, her voice trembled. The sensation was daunting. What if this locket held more than memories? What if it locked away secrets he could not share? Open it, Mark urged, inching closer, his eyes wide. A single click broke the silence as she managed to pry it open. Inside, she found a photograph, slightly faded. The image was of Leo, grinning blissfully, yet beside him stood someone Emma didn't recognize, a girl with long hair and bright eyes. Who is she? Emma breathed, her mind racing through questions. She felt the weight of this new discovery replace her worry with something sharper. What does she have to do with Leo? Mark moved to look over her shoulder. I don't know, but it looks like there's more to Leo's life than we realized. He studied both the picture and the locket, glancing back towards the shimmering lake. We have to find out who she is. Emma nodded, her resolve strengthening with every passing moment. We need to ask around. Someone must know. The night seemed to thrum with the weight of purpose, drawing them into an uncertain journey. But just as hope ignited within them, a sudden chill swept over the water, the surface darkening ominously. Emma looked up, her breath hitching as the moon disappeared behind the clouds. Mark, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, turned to face the lake, his eyes narrowing. What was that? The water began to ripple violently, the calm surface shattering into chaotic bursts of motion. We should go back, Emma urged, the urgency in her voice clear. This feels. A loud splash interrupted her, and they both jumped back. The water surged again, as if something beneath the surface was fighting to break free. "Do you feel that?" Mark asked, urgency etching his features. Emma nodded, fear grappling with exhilaration inside her chest. As they stood there, rooted in place, the shadows around them danced. What had they awakened? What secrets would emerge next? They couldn't run away now, they were in too deep. "Let us follow it," Emma said, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Together, they stepped closer to the edge, determined to uncover whatever lay beneath the dark waters of the lake. Shadows twisted and turned, but so did their fate, tangled and undefined. And as Emma leaned forward, a voice whispered from the depths, offering a challenge she never expected. "Are you ready for the truth?" A surge of energy pulsed through Emma as she leaned over the water, her heart racing. That voice, it was haunting yet somehow familiar, wrapping around her like an ethereal fog. "Did you hear that?" she gasped, pulling back slightly. Mark nodded, his expression a mix of awe and apprehension. "What was that?" It sounded like someone was speaking to us." As another ripple washed over the lake, Emma felt her hands tremble around the locket. The air was electric now, charged with possibilities and unspoken fears. "We have to know what it means," she whispered, her mind racing along with her pulse. The photograph of Leo and the mysterious girl loomed large in her thoughts, threatening to unravel everything she thought she knew. Mark stepped closer, an intense gaze settling on her. "This isn't just about Leo anymore, is it? This could change everything." Emma felt the weight of his words sink in. What if they unearthed secrets that could unravel their lives? Yet, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Perhaps it could also bring clarity, and maybe even closure. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," Emma said, determination breaking the tension. Mark nodded, and together, they focused on the dark water, willing the answers to rise to the surface. Just then, the locket in Emma's hand grew warm, surprising her. She looked down, noticing faint engravings illuminating on its surface, glowing with an otherworldly light. "Look," she exclaimed, holding it closer. It's changing." Mark's eyes widened as he leaned in. "What does it say?" The letters flickered, revealing what looked like a location. "There's a place mentioned here," Emma breathed, excitement bubbling to the surface. It's an old cabin at the edge of the forest." "Could that be where Leo spent time with her?" Mark asked, his voice quivering between hope and concern. Before Emma could answer, shadowy tendrils whipped through the air, swirling around them as the wind picked up. The water swelled, and the voice returned, this time more insistent, more demanding. "Find the cabin. Unravel the past." "What does that even mean?" Mark shouted above the increasing roar of wind and water. Emma squeezed the locket tightly. "It means we don't have a choice. We have to go. If there are answers to be found, that's where they'll be." The decision made, they scrambled back from the water's edge, propelled by a mix of dread and anticipation. As they made their way through the thickening fog, the dark forest loomed ahead, the trees whispering secrets of their own. "What if we aren't ready for the truth?" Mark's voice was barely a whisper as they approached the tree-line, the shadows deepening around them. Emma paused, glancing back at the lake. "We have to be. This might be our only chance to understand anything. Leo and this girl, they might need us to know." Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, the damp earth squelching beneath her shoes. With every step, she felt the locket pulse in her hand, guiding her toward the answers buried in the cabin of secrets. Suddenly, a piercing scream broke the night, sending shivers down her spine. "Emma! Mark!" It sounded distant but familiar, echoing off the trees. "Did you hear that?" Mark's eyes darted through the dark, panic etching his features. That voice, Emma's heartbeat quickened. Could it be? Was someone else with them? Or was it another test of their resolve? "Let us find out," she said, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. Together, they plunged into the shadows of the forest, the thrill of discovery mingling with the chill of the unknown. What awaited them at the cabin? Would they find answers about Leo? Or would they uncover something far darker? The path through the dark forest twisted around them, branches clawing at their clothes as if trying to pull them back from the encroaching mystery. Emma's heart raced, a mix of fear and resolve propelling her forward. With each step, she could still feel the locket's warmth resting in her palm, its secrets desperately asking to be unveiled. Emma! Mark! The scream pierced the night again, closer this time. Emma froze. The voice was unmistakable. Leo. Did you hear that? Mark whispered, his eyes wide with panic. It's him. No, it can't be, Emma said, feeling emotions swirl in her chest. Maybe it's just the past haunting us, trying to trick us. But as they pressed on, desperation clawed at their hearts, pushing them deeper toward the cabin that was now their only hope. The night wrapped around them, suffocating yet charged with purpose, each whispering breeze igniting the thrilling fear of the unknown. What if we're not ready for this? Mark murmured, glancing back as if checking for ghosts behind them. What if this changes us forever? If we don't face it, we'll be stuck wondering, Emma said, her voice trembling but resolute. This is for Leo, for the truth. Together? He affirmed, holding her gaze steady. Always, she replied, and with that, they forged ahead. Finally, the trees parted, and a worn wooden cabin emerged in the moonlight. It was old, ivy creeping up its sides, the door ajar as if inviting them to step inside. Emma's heart raced in tandem with the pulsing locket. This was it, the threshold to answers they so desperately sought. As they stepped onto the weathered porch, the door creaked ominously. Hello. Mark called, his voice echoing in the stillness. Silence answered, heavy and thick. Should we go in? Emma asked, her pulse quickening. Yeah. We need to look. Mark's voice was steady, though uncertainty flickered in his eyes. They entered slowly, and the dusty air whispered stories of lives once lived. Shadows danced across aged furniture and faded photographs. An old fireplace dominated one wall, now cold and lifeless, but a fire felt almost necessary in that moment, if only to chase away their fears. Look. Emma pointed to a small table in the corner. Papers scattered across its surface, and among them, she noticed a familiar script. These look like Leo's notes. Mark stepped forward, an urgency in his stride. What does it say? Emma's hands trembled as she picked one up, carefully unfolding it. Named events, lists of places, and scribbled thoughts poured out: his dreams, his plans, pocketed moments that felt hauntingly real. And there, amidst the pages, was a drawing of the girl from the locket, almost identical in age, her smiling face radiating joy. Who was she? Emma whispered, holding it closer. Mark studied the notes, a storm of emotion brewing in his gaze. She was important to him. Someone he cared about. Look. He pointed to a date circled with fierce haste, one that aligned perfectly with the summer Leo had been lost. Emma felt her heart drop. Was she there that day? Maybe she was part of it, Mark said, taking a shaky breath. What if something happened to her that summer too? The weight of realization hit them like a tidal wave as they exchanged glances, their fears merging into something tangible. We have to find out who she is, Emma urged, a sense of urgency electrifying her every word. But just as they prepared to search further, the cabin was enveloped in an eerie chill. The wooden floor creaked ominously underfoot, and they both paused, exchanging worried looks. Maybe we should, Mark stammered, as a shadow flickered across the wall, vague yet unmistakable. Stay focused, Emma insisted, fighting to keep her voice steady. We're so close. Another cold gust weaved through the cabin, swirling around them like an unseen presence. Emma shuddered, a whisper brushing against her skin, a voice they both recognized. Find me, it echoed, fragile yet insistent. Leo. Mark gasped, moving closer to Emma as both of their breaths mingled, thick with apprehension. Maybe it's not just the two of us, Emma reasoned, intuition flaring within her. Maybe it's a warning or a guide. Whatever it is, Mark said, his voice trembling, we need to listen. Should we split up and search? Emma suggested, but something in her gut screamed against it. No. Together, he insisted, grabbing her hand. We face whatever is here. Moving deeper into the cabin, they followed the dim glow of a dusty lantern hanging from the ceiling, illuminating stories hidden in shadows. Memories of laughter and warmth beckoned, but something darker brewed beneath the surface. Just then, the lantern flickered violently, casting disturbing shapes on the walls. A photo fell from the mantel, landing at their feet. Emma bent down, heart racing. It wasn't just any photo, it was of Leo, but he was with the girl, the one in the locket, but her face was unsmiling, filled with something deeply unnerving. What does this mean? Emma asked, her voice thick with confusion. Mark studied the photo intensely. There is something more going on than we realized. We need to understand their bond, it could explain everything. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, and as if in response, the space around them crackled with energy. They could feel the walls vibrating, whispers growing louder, demanding to be understood. Leo! Mark shouted, trying to draw the spirit out. Why did you call us here? And just as hope sparked within, the air surged like a tempest. The locket in Emma's palm grew unbearably hot, and she winced as a figure emerged from the darkness, stepping forward. A girl with long hair and bright eyes, just like in the locket, materialized before them, but her expression was one of sorrow. Please, her voice drifted like a haunting melody, unravel the truth. Who are you? Emma managed, her voice barely above a whisper. I am Maya, she said, and in that moment, Emma and Mark knew they were no longer alone. As Maya stepped into the dim light, she looked into their eyes with a sincerity that gave them hope. Your journey has only begun, Maya spoke softly, her gaze penetrating through the layers of confusion. But you must confront the shadows of the past to find peace. Mark gripped Emma's hand tighter, and together they held on to the promise of revelation. The weight of the locket pulsed in tandem with their hearts, urging them to seek out the truth no matter the cost. What do we need to do? Emma asked, her determination firm. Maya's smile flickered with sadness as she gestured towards the doorway. The answers reside within, at the heart of the lake. Only there will you truly understand the intertwined destinies of Leo, me, and the echoes of the past. With those final words, the night deepened, the intensity growing as strange winds shifted around them. Emma and Mark exchanged resolute glances, knowing they faced the most daunting task yet. Together, they would unravel the past. And together, they would embrace the truth, no matter how painful. Let us go, Mark urged, their hearts intertwined with purpose, the echoes of their journey ringing through the night. Together, they stepped out of the cabin, their destination clear. The secrets of the lake awaited, and they were ready to uncover everything, history intertwining fiercely with hope. They would face whatever lay ahead and emerge transformed. And as they made their way toward the edge of the water, the shadows cradled their fate, a fate bound by love, loss, and the journey of healing yet to come. This was a choice they could not back down from, and as they moved forward, the night wrapped around them, a curtain of possibility waiting to unfold. Now it's your turn to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your thoughts matter profoundly here. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation and find their own courage. This is the moment to show your support, and only true fans understand the importance of backing this channel through these actions. Don't wait not even one more second.